divine souls. I have called this talk Yoga Philosophy Beyond the Mat because it has become evident that yoga is blossoming throughout the world. In the hometown where I come from, Sydney, Australia, you will find there are yoga centers in every suburb by the many. It is becoming such a way to have a healthy body and mind. And this is a wonderful, wonderful thing. But what became evident to me is whilst they have an appreciation, to a degree, of the philosophical, spiritual origins of yoga, many don't have much knowledge at all. But it is evident to all of us that life is full of laws. If you eat too much, you get sick. If you eat too little, you get sick. If you sleep too much, you get red eyes. If you sleep too little, you get red eyes. So this whole universe is governed by principles. There are laws governing everything. So we need to understand how to eat well. We need to know how to move well, how to exercise the body, take in the proper nutrients. And we need to know how to think well. Don't have to. If you want to overeat and become sick, if you want to have a dull mind, that's okay. This is, after all, an environment of choice. But there are laws. The whole of the galaxy works on the principles of attraction and repelling. Everything is governed by law. So, the yoga philosophy beyond the mat, the idea is to help people understand that which makes them who they are. This is essential. What is it that gives the mind the ability to work? What is it that enables the eyes to see, to enable the ears to hear? From where have I come? Where am I going? What am I doing here? What is this inner nature of myself, this voice that I wake up every morning and say, good morning to yourself, and the same voice that you've lived with all of your life almost says, good morning back. As you think, so you become. As you sow, so you'll reap. Chaitaha kalvasya bandhaya muktaye chatmanomatam. The Bhagavad Gita says the mind is so important, it can either liberate you or bind you. So as human beings, we are constantly learning. Learning. As I've said, eat too much, eat too little. We learn, and then eventually one day, we pass away, we die. What's the point of learning and then dying? What's the use of learning all this? So yoga philosophy then, it is to help us put things into perspective. It is to help us become the master of our destiny instead of being a slave to our destiny. And yoga actually originates from the Vedas. There are many great philosophical writings of India, which I'm sure you are well aware of. But of the Vedas, there is a verse, Nihashvasita Masya Vedaha. This verse explains that the Vedas are the breath of the eternal. There are two types of knowledge, aparadharma and paradharma. Aparadharma is cultural. It is knowledge of the body, This knowledge changes with climate and time and culture and gender. It changes all the time. Some countries you can have multiple partners. Some countries you have to be monogamous and have one partner. Some countries you have to wear certain clothing. Other countries you can wear what you like. These are aparadharma. They are the rules of the body. And yoga, physical yoga, comes into that. But the other, called paradharma. Para means supreme, nothing beyond. Dharma, the science of. And paradharma is to do with your inner machinery called the antahakarana, the inner nature of the atma, the soul, the buddhi, the intellect, man, the mind, and so on. And the Vedas, they give knowledge of the world and they give knowledge of the inner nature. So many years ago, our spiritual master Sri Maharaji, he started with one shloka from the Vedas. Tvameva viditvati mrityumeti nanyapanta vidyate yanaya. He said this one shloka, this one verse, mantra, quotation. In it, once you understand it, all knowledge will be given unto you. And once you have this knowledge, there's nothing you can't do. So the verse means, by knowing Him, one can cross it. There is no other way. So Maharaji asked the question, who is the one that has to do the knowing? What is that which has to be crossed? And who or what is that which has to be known? And then he simplified it. He said the one that has to do the knowing is the individual. That which has to be crossed is known as Maya Shakti. It is this world in which we live. That which has to be known is the Para-Atma, the Supreme Self, that which upholds our individual soul. And then he went on to speak 27 consecutive talks explaining this verse. So today, I hope just to give you an insight. If you already have knowledge of these things, then I hope to enrich what you know. But these subjects are so important. Many people think philosophy, spiritual knowledge, what's the use of it? Is there any utility? I am so busy looking after my family, going to my work, paying the bills that have to be paid, just trying to keep myself above water and live my life. Do I need this knowledge? What's the use of it? I'll worry about it later. But the sages, the rishis, the munis, the mahapurush, the saint, they say, no, no, no. Please. Uttishtata jagrat prap viram nibhodhata. Uttishtata, wake up, come on. For this knowledge is about you. It's your knowledge. It belongs to you. It's for you. And you should use this knowledge for your benefit. Look here. Once I was sitting in the foothills of the Himalayas with Sri Maharaji. It was true that the plains of India were baking in the summer heat, but up in the place called Mussoorie, it was actually quite cool. This is going back into the early 1980s, when I was studying to be a Pracharaka Swami. There was a fire burning because we were sitting outside with Maharaji and just a small gathering of people. And Maharaji decided in a humorous but very poignant way to educate us on some point. So there was a fire burning, and one of the people sitting in the audience was named Ramesh in the small group. Suddenly Maharaji looked to Ramesh and he said, "Oh, Ramesh, idhar aao, come here, come." Ramesh, a young man, leapt to his feet full of enthusiasm. "Yes, Maharaji," he came up. "Ramesh, put your hand in the fire and hold it there." Now, Ramesh was a fellow who wanted to do whatever the master asked. "Whatever you want, Guruji, I will do." But the face on Ramesh said, "But not that." So, like a possum, we have plenty of possums in Australia, and as you drive around in your car at night and the headlights fall on the possum, and if the possum's on the road, rather than the possum running off the road like a sensible possum should, it just, once the headlight's on it, it goes and doesn't move. Well, Ramesh was like this possum. He looked at Maharaji non-blinkingly, and Maharaji said, "Ramesh, what are you waiting for? Put your hand in the fire and hold it there." Now, this is the 5th Jagat Guru in the last 5,000 years. And those of you who know Maharaji know he's a very powerful personality. Still, he didn't move. Finally, Ramesh said, "Maharaji, why would I be wanting to do that? You must know it will hurt." Maharaji finally let him off and laughed and "Sit down." He said, "Of course not. But let us suppose you had put your hand in the fire and you'd kept it there to the point that the burn was so severe that you lost the use of your hand for the rest of your entire life. We would call that consequence very, very serious indeed." And Maharaji said, "Yes, it is serious, but this consequence pales into insignificance compared to the trouble that you constantly get yourself into because you have no knowledge of your inner nature. You have no knowledge of how your mind works. You have such a power called the mind, and you use it in such foolish ways." And so he said, by thinking you can get yourself into so much more trouble than just a serious burn. And you do, and you will. You must have seen in India, people, forget India, all over the world, there are people in such hardship